like since Beast and everything that's happened to you, by the way, congratulations. It's my first time meeting you like this. I would hope that it's a little bit more, I kind of know how this all works now. For
No,
you.
I think it gets harder because when I did Beast, I was like, I was very naive,
Hmm.
and so I didn't know what to expect. But I don't, and then when I've spoken to other directors about when they release a film and they
Hmm.
premiere it somewhere, I'm like, oh, if it's your sixth film, seventh film,
Yeah.
they get easier. They all say no. It's the
No,
same.
really. Do you know
Yeah.
what's really interesting? I'm digressing for a second. When it was a SAG strikes a couple of years ago, London Film Festival, the only people that were able to attend, as you probably know, were the directors, and the writers weren't even there because of obviously the writers' strike. But it was so interesting because all the directors I chatted to, Michael, they were saying to me, "Oh my God, this is really weird. We normally run in, do the pictures. No one wants to talk to us. They want to talk to the actors, and now we're having to do this." And I was like, "But that's really beautiful. This is your work, and you guys are so instrumental." But a lot of them were like, no, we just want to run in. So
Yeah.
it's really fascinating to imagine the time and energy that you put into these stories. And then you get to this point and it's almost like, okay, actors, go do your job. And I hope
I
it
think
all
it's just a
works out.
different part of your brain, like directors, obviously you spend so much of your job communicating with every department over months, years, but it's no one else is listening in. You don't,
Hmm.
most directors, I think, are camera shy. Still don't know how to pose for a picture, and neither do any of my director friends. There's probably, I don't know, there's Wes Anderson, I think, probably poses, he knows how to do it, but
Yeah.
most
But you
directors,
know, there's something quite lovely about the fact that you're able to do the thing you love, and still retain what feels like a relatively normal life. I watched the film, congratulations, because there are so many kind of thrillers with the criminal aspect to it, but I kind of always know what's going to happen. I'm
Mm,
that person that's annoying that this is going to happen. But I think what I loved about Echo Valley, and I know it was partly because you have this awesome script, I think the visuals, the way it was shot, and the story just kept like evolving.
yeah, I mean, I talk with my cinematographer Ben Kraken, and we spend a long time trying to find the appropriate language for like the aesthetic language.
Yeah.
And with this, even though it's a genre film, it's a thriller, we felt it was so important for the audience to connect with the characters and to be kind of heartbroken by what goes on in this mother-daughter relationship. And so we were sometimes trying not to get in the way. And it's
Hmm.
hard because when you're a filmmaker and sometimes you want to do something fancy or impressive.
Yeah.
And we just thought, well, actually, let's try and be unfussy on this one. The landscape is kind of evocative and beguiling itself, and we found some great locations with the lake and the farm. We don't need to be too tricksy with the camera.
Mm.
So we're actually trying to have a very kind of honest approach to filming it. And you have all these incredible actors, Sydney, Julie, Donal, Fiona, that if you've got two people sitting around a kitchen table having
Yeah.
a dialogue scene,
Yeah.
sometimes we just wanted to have quite a pared back style, and maybe there was a bit of a concern like, oh, is this going to get boring? But we just found it so compelling when we were watching the material. So
But that's really nice. It shows you were so confident in what was happening that as creative people, I know I do it as an interviewer, as a journalist, sometimes we can be a little bit self-indulgent and be like,
mm,
no, let's do it because show what I can do. But equally, sometimes less is more. And I think in this film, it absolutely is going to have the audience gripped, but we're also going to feel so much attachment to, I think, Kate's character in particular, this idea of at what length would you go to protect a child, especially a child that's deceiving you. Sydney's character is a drug user. She's going through addiction, so she doesn't really have this kind of kind demeanor, but there's always this kind of sympathetic, oh, she's messed up, but she doesn't really mean it because she's on
mm,
drugs. And I think that idea of that conversation constantly in your head, and the only person, and I said this to Donal, who I love, by the way, I chatted to him yesterday. He was the only character in a very, very long time that I didn't have some sort of affection to. Because normally the baddies, no matter how terrible they are, there's something redeeming. Barring having nice hair, there wasn't much that I kind of like found myself thinking, oh, he's a bit of a shit because he's gone through this, this, and this. Was that deliberate?
I didn't say it to Donald on these terms because maybe he would have backed out of it, but it was
Mm,
obvious on the page that as an audience, you needed to hate,
Oh God,
viscerally
yes.
hate his character. Like he's,
Yeah.
but also at the same way, we did want to like humanize him in the sense that we didn't want him to be like an archetype of a sort of bad guy and sort of twirling his mustache or, so we didn't want to give him any tattoos or really tough guy look. And we thought, oh, maybe he has vulnerabilities that don't necessarily make him more sympathetic, but he just feels like a more real
Yeah.
person. So, and Donal brought all these great ideas like, oh, maybe this character like mispronounces words, like he wants to sound more erudite than he actually is,
Got
and that says something about him. Or he's genuinely wounded when Sydney's character rejects him, and maybe that's the thing that's fueling this whole thing. It's not just for money. He's kind of taken revenge on a family he feels like he wanted to be part of. So it was
it.
like just going through the script and talking with Donald. It's like, how do we make this guy feel real, but without trying to soften the edges?
You've got Julianne Moore. She's incredible. You know, her work speaks for itself. Also, still very kind. I've had the experience of chatting to her on a red carpet. She's very present and very kind. Sydney Sweeney has just completely been put into the world. Everybody has an opinion on everything she does. Fiona, sure, one of my favorite ladies in the entire world. I met her briefly last year. She made me just feel so much joy. Talk to me about these three women, and they're so pivotal in different ways in this film.
Yeah, I think the movie gods were kindly looking down on me when the casting worked out, because it's a dream to have. I mean, all of these actors, but these three particular women, because they were so committed to the types of characters they were
Mm,
portraying. That mother-daughter relationship. I think me, Sydney, and Julie just really responded to how dynamic it was. It was always in flux. Like sometimes they seemed, it was very tender between them. Other times, of course, it goes incredibly toxic and very extreme.
yeah,
But then there are weird moments, where Julianne's character helps Sydney's character do an awful thing and actually brings them closer. So there's a
yeah.
kind of strange irony in
Mhm.
their relationship when they've done something terrible that they become a bit more genuine with each other.
Yeah.
And so there was just lots to dig into there for the actors. I think, this film could have worked still. Brad's script, could have been effective if it was just a compelling crime thriller plot, but it had these very rich characters and so we could get great actors, for these roles, and they all brought something different. For Julie, she came to set each day, even though she's done many movies and
Yeah.
she's done so many seminal films and performances. She comes to set every day with so much excitement. She's so happy to be there. She loves other actors, and she hangs out on the set and chats to the crew in between takes. And I think that helped set the tone, because, Sydney was the same. She came there, she was super, between action and cut, she's so much inside the skin of the character. It's spooky how intense she can be.
Also, like physically, I think you've got to be able to be comfortable to look a certain way, and being a drug addict, it's a whole new Sydney. I mean, I know Euphoria, obviously, there's going to be comparisons there, but it
Mm.
just shows you it's nothing to do with vanity. Like this, like, real actors do whatever it takes to be those characters, whether that's Donal or whether that's Sydney.
Yeah, yeah. They because these characters needed to feel lived in. It was going to be
Yeah.
a lived in world and have all of that texture. And so Sydney's first thing, she was like, of course, we're not going to do any makeup, whatever my skin is like on the day. We don't, we were going to do these close-ups that where hers and Donal's face really take up the whole screen. And we didn't want a glossy look or anything like that for the film. And then Fiona, I was familiar with some of Fiona's performances, but I actually cast her partly because I watched her in interviews and I was so charmed by her character. And
Mhm.
we kind of needed someone like her to play the role of Leslie, where the audience would want that person to be their friend. And I feel like if you've ever met Fiona Shaw, you've seen her in interviews, everyone just wants her to be her
Bad
close
Sisters, oh
friend.
my goodness. The fact that they brought her in season two made my whole life. She has so much layers. She has comedy. She has heart. There's something so very special about Fiona. And the fact that you cast this bunch of people really makes me happy, because there's no way that in any other circumstance I would ever see them all together. Has there been anything that's really served you during all these years that's kind of kept you grounded, focused, and still smiling and working in this very tough, demanding industry that we've all chosen to be a part of?
It's just, yeah, it's working with good people that you feel are doing it for the right reasons, and just having a gut check, when you're looking at a project or you're meeting people, go and do, it's films are so hard to make, and it can be a bit of a bruising experience. So you want to be working with people who you feel connected to, and that you're going to savor the experience of making the film, not just having made it, but the process itself is going to be one that's enjoyable, and you're going to build friendships, and that becomes more important the more films I make.
Oh, I love that. Hey, thank you for taking time out. Congratulations. Awesome film. I'm wishing you so much success. I know it's out this Friday over on Apple, and enjoy the premiere. And
Oh,
don't avoid the journalists. They want to talk to you as well. You made the film.
thank you, Max. Appreciate it.